Hey there, friend. Is leadership a title or a way of showing up every day for you and your life? And is self leadership selfish or a form of self care? These are the kind of questions we chat in today's podcast episode with my gal pal, Shanna Kabatznick, author of Called to Lead Success Strategies for Women. Everyone's story is uniquely personal, including Shauna's. Yet, how her circumstances suddenly changed and how she navigated through them has a universal ring we can all appreciate. And remember, we're not alone. In fact, chances are you will feel like you're right there around the table with us talking. That's how Shauna makes you feel. By the way, I always ask my guests to take my quick quiz to determine their personal nail color persona and what their fave nail color reveals about them. It's a fun way to get to know them before we dive into our conversation. You can take the What's My Nail Color Persona quiz too, and you can discover your specific nail color persona, your built in strengths, and how to tap into those strengths when chip happens. Just go to livelikeyournailcolor.com/quiz or use my handy shortcut, mynailcolorpersona.com. Answer 3 quick questions and you are good to go. Now let's get talking with Shauna.
Tired of so much chip happening? Discouraged by so much downer news? Weary from chronic crisis? Don't let the chips keep you down. Welcome to the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast, where the tips of your fingers and toes are ready to inspire you to not give up and to keep creating the business, career, and life you want. In each episode, we flip the chip and let our fun nail color with that crazy fun name cheer us on to remember our strengths, embrace the power of choice, see life as an adventure, and know resilience is only a touch-up or change-up away. Get ready for a good time and a good laugh with your host, Mary Foley.
Welcome back, y'all. Yes, I do Virginia Southern Charm if I want to. Or how about Oye, ¿cómo va? You know, Oye, ¿cómo va? I don't know the rest of the words. I just know Oye, ¿cómo va? Did you know that Oye, ¿cómo va means, hey, how's it going? Now, my gal pal today is rolling her eyes right now because she's from a Spanish-speaking country, and ever since we've known each other, it's been fun to share words and phrases, and that's English or Spanish, by the way. And I love to slip in some Spanish words when she doesn't expect it and to make her laugh, which I just think I did, all right? But she's holding back, I'm telling you right now. Clearly, speaking Spanish is not my strength, but she has helped me realize that relating to others is a strength of mine. And knowing and building on your strengths is a huge part of living like your nail color. And that's what we're going to dive into today. But first, let me share a little bit about my gal pal, Shanna Kabatznick. As a Latina woman who spent over 20 years in the male-dominated insurance and financial services industries, Shanna has turned her experience into a platform where she does such a great job of this. She encourages and she empowers and she educates teams and leaders and lots of women, that's for sure, because we've been hanging out a lot together, a lot of her gal pals. And as a speaker and a trainer and facilitator, she is so good at connecting with people and energizing them to take action. Now, I personally think it's her big smile and her laughter, but maybe that's just me. You know, that's why people want to hang around her and do stuff with her. But the thing I know for sure is she is also the author of the book called Called to Lead Success Strategies for Women and Leading a Successful Life. Well, that's what this whole podcast is about. So, Shauna, Mamacita, welcome to the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast.
You do crack me up, Mary, with the Oye, ¿cómo va? Mi vida. So that's the part you missed. There was that Oye, ¿cómo va? Mi vida. But yes, you crack me up, and it's a pleasure to be here today.
Okay, so what is my vida? What
my life?
Oh, my life.
So yes, how are you doing, my life? So yes.
Oh, so is how's my life going, or is it like a person? You're like, how you doing, life?
No, Oye, ¿cómo va? Mi vida. So it's like it's saying to like the other person, like you're my life. So how are you? Like sweetheart, like honey,
Yeah.
Yes.
See. So I would take it as my life and take that too literally, but like the love of my life, like kind of like that. So
But see, I'm really thankful that you didn't start singing Despacito, because I don't think we could officially translate that and stay on air. So that's a good thing that we didn't do.
yes, you're right. There's a lot of good reasons why my Spanish speaking abilities are limited. I'm just saying. All right. So, but beyond that, let's talk about you and your nail color, right? Because we just get down to that here on this broadcast. Before the podcast, I asked you to take the What's Your Nail Color Persona quiz. I ask every guest this. So, what is your nail color persona, and did it nail you?
It did nail me, and it said that I'm an amazing adventurer. How's that? Yay, me.
I am
And it,
not surprised at
yeah,
that.
it says I'm inventive and imaginative, and I'm always dreaming up new possibilities. So I would say it pretty much nailed me.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Literally.
I was thinking about how inventive and imaginative. How many times have you said to me, I've got this idea. I don't
Oh
know
my
if it's
gosh.
crazy. What do you think? Right. So, if so anybody who's got a friend who says that to them, or what do you think of this? Yeah. You probably got an amazing adventurer as a friend. But also in the quiz, it asks you, what is your favorite go to nail color? So, what was your answer to that? And did that description nail you?
Well, Mary, you know me long enough that you know my three favorite colors because of the brand, but obviously my favorite color is red. And back to that, I'm passionate about life and I take action. So again, talking about your talents, that's actually one of mine. It's I'm an activator. So all of this uh, came together very nicely, almost like if we did it on purpose, but we
Yeah,
didn't.
we did it. I know. It's so that wherever you go, there you are. So whatever test you take, hopefully it accurately describes what's already there. So I got a little bonus question for you that has to do with your nails.
Oh boy.
Do you prefer to do your fingernails only, your toenails only, or both? Or maybe neither at all. But I know you actually like to paint them. So I know.
Well, this is easy. So I love a pedicure. So I love the relaxation that it brings and have, especially now that we're going into summer, right?
Right.
Um, I am okay with no nail color, but if I was to have nail color, I don't like doing it. I like using this product called Color Street. I believe that's the name, because it happens so fast. I get what I want, I put it on, and in about 5 minutes, I'm done. Because remember, I have places to go, people to see. I'm an activator, so I don't have patience. So Color Street does it for me
Yeah.
because
Oh,
it's 1, 2, 3, bam.
yeah, Color Street's great. There are these nail strips, right? And this built-in base coat, color, top coat, zip it on, and they have a lot of fun designs. And oh yeah, I could totally see that. And as a facilitator and as a trainer and stuff, and a speaker, like you are showing off your nails a lot more.
Yes.
So,
And it's funny you said that, Mary, because also when we're doing a lot of the virtual presentations, right? It's our eyes and our hands that it shows.
well, I love it that the quiz nailed you. All right. So yeah. And anyone can take this quiz. I mean, you are special, and I'm glad that you took it. It's not a quiz just special to you. Anyone can go to mynailcolorpersona.com, answer 3 questions, and boom, get your results. So I encourage everyone listening to do it because it's just fun. And the idea is at the tips of your fingers or toes, you can always put a color on or be naked, because Naked Nelly is one of the options. And what does it say about you to remind you of who you already are? And that's part to me of like foundational to living like your nail color. But I want to ask you a question about your book, because the title is Called to Lead. And when I see that title, I immediately think about the women in leadership positions in their career, in their business, maybe in a nonprofit, it seems like everyone has been called to lead their life in a new way, in particular because of the last couple of years. So how does self-leadership play into positional leadership?
I think when I do trainings and where I get a lot of people with that aha moment is leadership or being a leader is not a title. When you are in a corporation, an organization, or a board, and you are truly a leader within that organization, it's one thing. But I believe that especially women, I'm going to call because that's my, my thing,
Right.
is we're innate leaders, and it doesn't matter what role we play. It can be, I mean, I was a head of a household as a mother that's single. I was a leader and I didn't know it, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's using that strength that's from within you and applying it it's either in your entrepreneurial journey, or is it in a nonprofit, or is it in an organization, and applying it irregardless of what your official title is in the marketplace or in a job force.
But here's the thing, when I hear the term self-leadership, and I wonder if in your experience, particularly in talking with other women, this happens. It's that word self at the beginning that kind of can trip you up. And so, it makes me think, is self-leadership selfish? Because, as women, we don't like to be selfish. Like, that's a bad thing.
Well, it's funny you said that, because think about self-care also. That it just came up, and self-care is not selfish, right? So I think it's not. Actually, I want to say that if we don't do those things, like self-leadership or self-care or any word that we think may sound that you're selfish, if we don't start with ourselves and take care of ourselves, then we cannot possibly give it to others. So I don't think that's selfish. I think it's something that we need to do. I do believe that in our minds, just like with self-care, we feel like we're being selfish because of what's being said or what we've heard, like you just mentioned, or society. But I believe that it's something that must be done.
Yeah, it can be an internal struggle and almost like this contradiction in our heads, right? But what I love about self-leadership is, how can you lead others, influence others, lead your family, lead a team, lead a volunteer group if you can't lead yourself, right?
Right.
And no one else can do it for you. Nobody, I mean, everybody else is really tied up trying to lead themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't have time to do that too. So it's really up to us. But I know you didn't come to that conclusion without personal experience. And I know you have a unique story. It's a universal story in some ways, about just because of how your circumstances suddenly changed at one point in your early life. And then you had to figure out how to respond. I would love for you to share like the big themes of that story, so that everybody can really listen, because it's easy to have, you didn't say platitudes. Okay. But it's easy to say these kind of sounds like platitudes, it's self-leadership is like self-care. And you're like, oh, girlfriend, I've been there. All right, let me tell you why. So tell me, share your story. I shouldn't know it.
I think we own those things when, like you said, we go through them, right? And very high level story. For the beginning, even when I came to college and got married and moved to Virginia, those decisions were made for me. I did not make those decisions, right? My father, my then husband, his job, whatever it was, I learned to make that first decision when, I decided to walk away and said, this marriage is not working. And I think that's where, even though I really didn't know that it was taking my leadership, my skills to do that, I think that was the first time that I experienced that. Maybe it was that push that I pushed myself. And then once I walked away, and once I made that decision for the benefit of me, of him, and of course of my children, I realized that in order to keep moving, it was my decision, right? It was my decision now to take care of my kids, a roof over their head, food on the table, job, and it just kind of happened. So that's, I guess, the start of the journey.
Mm. Every woman listening right now, I can relate to this part of your story. Every woman has been divorced, and she's the one that made the decision that this was no longer a good thing. That's not true for every woman who's divorced.
Right.
I want to be cognizant of that. It was true for me. It was true for you. Um, so interesting that you said that's really the moment where you went, I'm making this decision by myself, for myself. Obviously, you kept your kids in mind, but you led the way. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Wow.
sometimes, Mary, I don't think we give ourselves credit, or we even know that's what we're doing. Because from the outside looking in, people were like, oh no, what are you going to do now? Or what about your kids? Or, oh my gosh, what about the dad? Is he part of their picture? Whatever it might be. But we don't get that, wow, it must have taken courage. Wow, you're going to be great. You're going to do good. You're going to lead, and I think sometimes, heck, I think maybe that's part of why I created Fab Women, because I wanted women to know that they can be supportive, regardless of the decisions that they make, that you're always going to have a girlfriend like you and I being friends that, hey, I might not understand why you're doing it, but guess what? I've got your back.
Yeah.
I'm supporting you. And we need to do that. And as women, I think sometimes we can be pretty harsh, sometimes, in society does it as well. And I mean, that's why, how I feel about the word single mother, right?
Yeah. Well, share with everybody about it, because we hear that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, she's a single parent. But when it comes to being a mother, you don't like
Right.
that term. Why is that?
No, I don't, because I'm a mother first, a single second. And in Spanish is madre soltera, which is mother that's single.
Yeah.
So when people will say, so you're a single mother, I would say no. Of course, they were confused at the moment, because they knew I was divorced. I said, no, I'm a mother that's single. And at the beginning, they looked at me, but there's actually something that happens when you say it that way, and your attitude changes, because you're like, okay, I'm a mother first. I just happen to be single.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That really is, though. It's powerful, because how you self-define, and you get very aware of what's very important and your strengths to be a mom, right? And
Yes, absolutely.
to be a good mom. And, and one of the things I didn't, introduce you as and share, because there's so many things to share about you, is the fact that you started a community years ago called FAB for women, called FAB, right? Which is fearless, authentic, and bold, FAB. And you've, from scratch, built it up. You did it in addition to working in the financial services industry. Then you did it for a while full time, and now you're doing a whole lot in corporate and in groups and in organizations. But I love the fact that you started Fab Women because of the community aspect, because
Yes.
of women encouraging and inspiring other women, so they can hear stories like this. Like, no, I'm a mother who's single.
And that they can step in and be proud of who they are, without being second guess, judge, minimize, compete, whatever. It's own. That's why the fearless, authentic, and bold, right?
Yeah.
Step in, own who you are, and move forward.
Well, I've been at your events when you would hold them, and you yourself create this environment that really is true, that what you just described. It's inclusive, but you can just go and relax and be yourself, and not feel that people are going to be criticizing you or evaluating you to the nth degree, right? And I love that aspect. And this thing of emphasizing your strengths and who you already are. Well, I do go back to my nail color quiz. All right, my nail color quiz. And it's very quick. It's very fun. It's easy. It's
super easy.
It's highly validated, by of years of critical analysis. Anyway, but I mean, but it's amazing though what you can tell about yourself in 3 simple questions. But there are deeper, richer, more robust assessments, like this one called Core Clarity, that you use in some of your work with individuals and in teams. I do love deeper dives, by the way, things that, like, you like this, wait, there's more. So I was curious if you could just share a very kind of broad stroke, what is Core Clarity as an assessment? Because it's kind of one that a lot of people haven't heard of. And how can it help me understand myself better so I can be smarter and savvier about leading my life?
So what it is Core Clarity is a strength-based methodology that's built on Gallup's Clifton Strengths Assessment. So a lot of people are familiar with Gallup's Clifton Strengths, and Candace Fitzgerald is the lady that created Core Clarity, and she's brought that assessment in and created what you call core drills. So what's exciting about it is you're taking your innate talents, and if you take your talents and you use them and apply strength and skill, that's where you're bringing it together, and you're, how can I say, if you use your talents correctly in the right place, they become strengths.
Okay.
And that's what's so exciting. And Mary, I got to say, one of the things that gets me super excited about Core Clarity and what it can do, and you just mentioned how with FABWOMEN I build inclusivity, right? Because I believe in being inclusive. Can you imagine if you can be with teams or with other people that don't look like you, might not even speak your same language, don't have the same background, yet you have an assessment like this, and all of a sudden you connect with someone because they're both relators, or they're both activators, or any of the 34 different talents. So you remove what you know about that person, where they're from, what language, what religion, what political view, and you connect with something that they have in common. Now you can start that conversation, because now you've found that common thread. And Mary, you and I both know that if we can find a common thread within, especially teams, then we can move those projects faster and quicker, because we're going to be more open to information, or more open to receiving what the other person has to say.
Well, see, that's what's, I think, kind of cool. Yeah, I love that, because I learn more about myself, right, in a deeper way, my talents. But then when I learn about other people I'm working with and their talents. And so now it's not just about me, it's about them, and then it's about how we relate.
Yes.
I know, and oh, well, if they have some talents that are way different than mine, I'm like, well, that's why you don't understand when I talk to you, or that's why we end up kind of getting frustrated with one another. And I go, oh, that's how maybe now I can rewind that tape and do it differently, right?
Exactly. And that's the beauty of it. If I know your talents, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, now I understand why. Like you just mentioned, I learned to connect with you and respect you. So there's 2, right? We connect with things that we have in common, or we learn to understand the things that are making us different. Either way, it's a great framework to building up, especially in the organization corporate world, to building up stronger teams. And on a side note, I was talking to someone today, something that's happening, 2.5 years people were on their own, right?
Yeah, right.
And so it would took a lot of adjustment, but 2.5 years later, you're coming back into the same building and there's friction. People don't know how to act within each other. Or maybe I have someone that said, Shanna, I was hired within the pandemic, so I never met in person with other coworkers and my manager. We saw Zoom or phone calls, but not in person. So to coming back to the same place with all these nuances and changes, this is a unbelievable tool. Obviously, you can tell I'm very passionate.
And you're wearing red nail color.
It makes me happy. Yes. It makes me happy. And Candace laughs because I'm like, Candace, I'm like a little kid the day before Christmas. I'm ready. Let me share it with the world.
Well, powerful tools are just that. They're powerful, right? So,
yes.
That I love that. Well, so in terms of leading yourself, is it really an inside out job? It sounds like it really is.
Yes.
And so we have to take that responsibility there for the self and self leadership. But what part do other people play in leading ourselves?
I think the part that others play is, and again, it will depend on your own talents, right, and strengths. But I think we take the first step, and I can only talk on my own experience, right? When I took that first step and got divorced and started a new career in the financial services industry, it was scary. I think where the outside world can come in is who is there to support you, to see who you are and believe in you, or do they bring you down? Are they negative? Are they not understanding what you're trying to do? It might cause you to second guess those steps. And I think that's where we can get that positive or negative input if we're not careful.
But if we run across the negative, because we all have, right?
Yes.
I think you're crazy. Who does she think she is? Oh my God. They're just too much, she's just too much. I mean, can you believe she said that? I mean, all kinds of things, particularly when we're owning more of our lives or a new aspect or a new layer. And, we're taking that responsibility for the inside job, and then it's showing up in our behaviors. So if we interact with someone who is critical, negative, and not supportive, what would you recommend we do?
So again, from learning experience, and because I believe we learned the hard way, you need to let that relationship go. If that relationship does not, friendships are mutual. It needs to be mutual. Like, for example, you and I, there might be times where you're going through a hard time and you need to lean in on me, or there's times I'm going through a hard time and I lean in more on you. I think that's a friendship. But when you've got someone that anything you're doing, they're putting you down or saying you're not doing it right, or they're being negative, and it might not be that they mean it in a bad way. They're just maybe concerned for you. Like people were concerned when I left corporate and started my entrepreneur journey. I understand that. Yet I also understand me, and if I'm around that, it's going to bring me down, and it will stop me. It will paralyze me from what I'm not that strong that I can be around people like that. So I have to remove myself or limit the amount of time I'm around someone like that. Even though they could be well intended. They might not be. They're doing it because they're bad or mean. It's just maybe they don't get it. They don't understand it. And after a while, you need to make that decision and say, this is just not working.
It's not that we have to have everyone in our lives. I mean, here's the reality. Not everyone in our lives is going to understand us and be 100% supportive.
Right.
And that has more to do with them than it has to do with us. And so there's an aspect of giving them some grace, but it doesn't mean we have to accommodate for their every whim either, or their every criticism. So I love that. Yeah. I mean, leading ourselves is not the easiest path.
Mm-mm.
Way easier to say, oh, it's, by consciously and unconsciously letting other people lead the way, and we're gonna get what we get, react to it. But it's exciting to do it yourself. I'm telling you.
Exciting, exciting and exhausting at times. And hence why I believe you need to have people in your life that believe in you, even when you don't. I mean, you were one of I still remember our first conversation back in, oh my gosh, I think it was you were my keynote speaker, my first keynote speaker in 2014, right?
Right.
Mary, we've known each other for a long time.
Do the math, right? Do the math.
My gosh, we've come a long way, my friend. But you have people that say, I see that. I see that potential in you, and I'm going to support you. And sometimes you need more of that because it's scary, it's exhausting, and you got to have those people around you.
Well, it may be hard and exhausting at times, but have you found it's worth it?
You know how you showed that, don't you have that chart about the day in an entrepreneur's life? And how many, up, down, up, down. Yeah. So it depends on the time of day that you ask me. But I say, so far so good. So yes, it's worth it. I really believe that when you align yourself with your talents and you create that strength, and it brings you to where you need to be, then you can shine. And I think that might be why sometimes people, there's people that go through a job and they're miserable, and it's because they're not in the right place. So I don't believe it's because of it's an 8 to 5 or whatnot. I believe it's because of what they're doing. So in my case, this journey of mine, I want to say, yes, it's worth it because it has allowed me to be that crazy visionary that comes up with an idea. Like I tell you, I have an idea. You can tell me if it's crazy. Right. This is what I'm thinking, right? And I know you remember when I had ideas about FAB, and well, I matured because at the beginning I wouldn't even ask you. I would just do it, and then everybody was like, okay, she just said that. Now, how exactly are we going to deliver? But now I know I'm an activator. And that is actually part of activator. First, it says fearless. And, I love that word, is we don't stop and think, we just do. But as you learn about yourself, then you also learn to know when and how to apply those talents.
And that, therefore, goes from talent to strength.
There we go. Yes.
The more we understand our strengths and how to use those, then we can lead a successful life.
Yes, and lead ourselves, right? And lead others.
Yeah, and encourage them to do the same. All right, so with this whole idea of self-leadership and understanding your strengths, if there was a nail color name that we could use to, that any gal listening could say, I love that name, and she could use it to inspire herself by giving the current color on her fingers or nails this new name, what would the name be?
So I'm going to use two because, of course, the first name would be FAB, capital FAB. I mean, you just know FAB.
Yeah.
But the other name I thought about when I was thinking through that is Own It. Own it. Just own it. You're putting on some Own It, and it's like, yep, I'm owning this right now. I'm owning it. Own it. That's my name.
I love it. And what I love is that you can look at your fingers and go, I'm owning it. I'm owning it right now in this moment. Okay. Particularly when it's not always the easiest moment. I
totally love it. Totally love it. And we can put some sparkles in there while we're at it.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never hurts anyone.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I love our conversation here about strengths. I really, really appreciate you taking time to do that. For those who want to learn more about you, maybe get a copy of your book called The Lead, what's the best way for them to do that?
Easiest way is shannak.com on my website.
Okay, but spell Shanna K for everyone because people spell it differently.
SHANNAK.com.
And of course, you're known as Shanna K because half the people can't pronounce Kabatznick.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Okay, so real quickly, that does not sound like a very Spanish Latina last name. So I always said, you have to answer that question that everyone's like, Shauna sounds okay, but Kabatznick? I don't think so. How did you get that last name?
My father. I was going to joke around and say, go check out my website and you can hear the story, right? But
Sure.
yes, my upbringing was a Catholic Jewish mix. So talk about a little bit of everything. So that's my father's last name.
I love it. Yeah. Thank you so much. All right. Hey, listen, gal, I will see you again soon. Until then, keep leading yourself and let's have a fab day. Sounds good?
And I'm going to keep living like my nail color.
All right. Talk to you all soon. And hey, make it a great day. Bye.
Thank you.
What a fun conversation with Shauna. And now it's time for my Flip the Chip segment, where we reflect on one way Shauna flipped the challenge in her life into something positive. I loved how she honestly shared how she truly didn't start leading her own life until she was a grown woman with 2 children, a career, and as she said, her marriage was not working. It takes real courage to flip the chip at that point. And though self-leadership is an inside-out job, did you notice her response when I asked her about what part other people play? She said, after you take the first step to make a change, especially a tough one, ask yourself, who is there to truly support you? She said, surround yourself with positive people who are willing to see you for who you are in that moment, full of imperfection, messy, hurt, as well as courageous. You just need 2 or 3 people like that in your life to make a huge impact. So, who is willing to lend an ear and let you just be while you're doing your darndest to take one step at a time to lead your life? Ask for their support. If you feel isolated and alone, you may need to be vulnerable and reach out to ask someone you know now only as a casual friend. And you also need to distance yourself and limit your interaction with negative naysayers who don't agree with your choice or just think you're nuts. You will need all the good feels to manage yourself through the transition. And while you're doing this, let the tips of your fingers or toes cheer you on. Put on a new color and call it Own It, like Shauna suggested, so that whenever you see your fingers or toes, you're reminded that you can truly own your life. You can choose to take however you're feeling right now and focus on what you can do to lead your life. One nail color, one step at a time. That's flipping the chip. Looking forward to being with you again soon on the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast. Ready to live and laugh more? Know a friend who could use some of that too? Then subscribe at livelikeyournailcolor.com or your favorite podcast app and share this episode right now with the person who popped into your mind. Together, let's flip the chip to be stronger, smarter, and happier.